Hi, and welcome to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. My name is Bill Moore. I'm the founder of Food Truck Training Group on Facebook, co-owner with my beautiful wife, Melissa, of our own food truck. It's called Food Truck 101, and I'm the executive director of the National Street Food Vendors Association, which is a nonprofit dedicated to education, advocacy, and uplifting all food vendors. Today, I'm going to be talking about, actually all this week, I'm going to be talking about the most important pillars of your food business, and that's quality, service, cleanliness, and community. QSC squared, as I like to call it. But before we start talking about that, I want to remind you guys I'm going to be in Orlando, Florida this year on November 12th and 13th. I'm going to be a part of the Food Truck Owners Expo, and I will be giving two classes, one on writing a profitable menu, and then one on how to market in the off-season. If you're interested in attending the expo, there's going to be a whole bunch of food truck owners there, as well as prospective food truck owners. There's going to be a lot of exhibitors showing off what they've got to contribute to the food truck industry, from builders to POS systems to insurance agents to fire and safety, and of course health departments. So if you would like to attend, go to ftoexpo.com, place your order for those tickets today, and when you do, put in the code FTTG15 for a 15% discount. I also want to thank Table Needs for sponsoring this episode of the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. Table Needs is a full-service POS system capable of handling your busy food truck, cash, credit card, and reporting needs. Check out the link in the description for more information about Table Needs. So when it comes to working in food service, if you worked at any level, being an employee all the way up to being the CEO of the company, you have discussed probably at length the term QSC, quality, service, cleanliness. Now, I like to add one very important aspect to that, and it is called community. As a business owner, you have got to build a community, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on this week. Today, we're focused on quality. Quality is much more than just buying those high-quality ingredients or buying those expensive ingredients to go into your food recipes. Quality has to start with food safety, and it's not a glamorous topic. No one likes talking about food safety because it is one of those things we've got to take a test on, and whether your state requires you to take the test or not, I strongly urge you to take that food manager certification course so you understand in detail all about food safety. You also have to take that same training for the certified food manager and then pass it on to your employees. They've got to understand the basics, and it goes beyond just washing your hands, because sadly most food trucks don't even do that right. They wash their hands every couple of hours if they remember, and I'm sure we've all seen it, and we probably, if we're being honest with ourselves, need to admit that we will have somebody be a cashier and handle money and go straight to handling food without doing any kind of hand wash. Or we'll have somebody that switches jobs. Or sadly, we'll have people that wear gloves and think that protects them from everything. And we'll see the cashier wearing gloves and go straight into food handling. Or we'll see somebody pick up a broom while they're wearing the gloves and sweep the floor. All of those actions require hand washes. Anytime you change a job requires a hand wash. And that's just the basics. And there's much more about food safety than just washing your hands. You got to understand the time and temperature controls. For example, certain foods can be held out at room temperature. And I'm sure a lot of you are going, oh my God, why would you do that? Well, there's certain instances where it makes sense to do that. For example, there are some restaurant chains, I'm not going to mention any names because I don't want you guys getting a tainted view of them, but there are certain restaurant chains that have procedures where they put the condiments for sandwiches out at room temperature. They are not under refrigeration at all. Each one of those particular products is controlled by time, not by temperature. So what that means is, for example, a dairy product like cheese. They want cheese to be out at room temperature so that it melts quicker. Remember, it's all about serving the food fast. So in order to keep that food also safe, it has a 2-hour hold time. So at the point that the cheese has been sitting out 2 hours, we either sell it or it is thrown away. That's how you control food with time. Perfectly legal. Most people don't want to do it because it requires them to actually have a procedure and then a way or a method of tracking that food item. So for instance, on the cheese, we would write on the corner of the pan the discard time. So we put the cheese out at 10 o'clock and it was good for 2 hours, so we had to go through that whole pan of cheese by noon. Now, smart vendors will only put out either shallower pans or they'll only fill the pans partially full, so that way they're constantly turning the food over. Understand what you can and cannot do when it comes to just food safety. But there's way more to quality than just food safety. You got to purchase those high quality ingredients. That means you're spending a little bit more money. People come to you not for cheap, they come to you for tasty. And a lot of taste comes from high quality ingredients, which are also expensive. So that's why you got to have food safety in mind and then understand how to keep that food under control but you got to buy those high quality ingredients. You want to, as much as possible, buy from local suppliers because it's going to ensure a fresher quality product. And it also gives you one more marketing point to let people know, hey, support this small business because I support other small businesses in our area. You want to use seasonal produce when it makes sense. You want to create those supplier relationships with people that are local. You can buy from farms, you can buy from butchers, you can buy from anyone that's local, and then you want to brag about it. Just creating a community. We'll talk about that later this week. You want to understand the storage practices for each individual product. Where should it be stored? How much of it should be stored on the food truck? How much should be left at the commissary? What do those procedures and what do those standards look like so that you don't have too much of one thing and not enough of the one thing it seems to be selling out? Every product on your truck needs to have a home, and it needs to have an inventory amount for that home that you know. One of the things that I prided myself on when I had a Burger King was I could open up the freezer door, count the number of fries, and know whether that was going to last me until the next delivery or not. So you've got to have those storage practices, and then you got to understand how does that fit in with your sales mix. You got to have standards for cooking and assembly. What does it look like when the food product is nearly done? How close do we get it to done? Do we have carryover cooking that's going to finish the cooking process, or do we need to get it all the way cooked before we hand it out? It's all about the standards and procedures that you have in place to make sure you have a good training process so that your employees know what they need to do. And in order for your employees to know what they need to do, you got to know what you got to do. You have to be the expert on your food truck and your food truck product. So what does it look like? How many burgers patties can they cook at one time? How full should the basket be if they're dropping fries? If you're dropping chicken, how many pieces of chicken can go in a basket and get them cooked in a reasonable amount of time? You have to have those standards. And then what does the product look like? Do you have timers? I went and bought timers for our food truck. Not many food trucks have timers. Buy timers. That way you don't have to depend upon your memory or your sight of a product and go, oh, yeah, that's perfectly done. Because usually what happens when you get busy is, oh, crap, I burnt it. So now you've taken a 15-minute hold time because you're already behind and turned it into a 30-minute hold time because you got to cook more product. So get those standards and procedures written out so that your staff has something to refer to. Anything that has a color to it, you want to show what the optimal color is, and then show what the lightest color should be and what the darkest color should be. Make a picture of that and then post it where the employee is working, and then give them the authority to go, yep, that's too dark, I shouldn't have cooked it that long, and discard it. You want to count your waste, but they've got to have that authority to do a good job. If they have to show you everything, then they don't have any authority at all, and they are just a robot, essentially. People don't like being robotic. They like knowing they have authority levels. So with that excellence in cooking, it also means you got to have excellence in assembly. You could perfectly cook a burger, you could perfectly cook French fries, but if they're not assembled to where they look delicious and they look neat and they look appetizing, people aren't going to come back because we eat with our eyes first. If you disappoint them with the eyes, doesn't matter how good the food tastes because they've already got that, well, crap, this doesn't look very good, does it? Well, it tastes good, but they eat with their eyes first. You can't claw back that first impression. Take your time to teach your staff how to make a sandwich and then how it should look when it gets wrapped or plated or boxed to where it still looks neat as it goes out. I shared a story last year about a burger place I went to that was bragging about how awesome they are with their burgers. They have a restaurant and they have a food truck. And the employees were just talking back and forth with each other, and one other guest had stepped up about how awesome their food is. So I'm going to buy their bistro burger because it's got the word bistro in it. It must be awesome. Get to the truck, open up the box, and it is a disassembled mess. They had no pride in what they were doing. They loved bragging about how awesome they are, but they didn't demonstrate that they were awesome. So have those standards for cooking and assembly. Show your employees what a finished product should look like. Give them something to compare to. One other thing that quality also pertains to that a lot of people don't grasp, it's not just related to food, it's related to the experience. So even though we talk about quality, service, cleanliness, and community, quality goes into all of the others. What does quality service look like? And we'll talk about the details of how to get quality service, but you also, as a part of quality service, need to be asking people for feedback. Have that QR code put right by where they pick up the food. Hey, if you guys would, please leave us a review. There's a QR code, snap it, takes you straight to our review site. We appreciate all feedback and we do react to all feedback. You got to have that continuous improvement, and you can't improve unless you get feedback from people. So they're telling you, hey, I think you should do this a little different. It's not a dig at your abilities. It's an opportunity for you to get better. And then you want to make sure that you stay true to your brand promise of quality in every aspect of your operation. If you're not being conscious of the quality that you're delivering, then your brand becomes associated with sub-quality product. You don't want that. Quality is not a one-time effort. It's not when you go shopping. It's not when you cook the food. It's not when you assemble the food. It's the overall process that creates the quality. And it's not just one element. So make sure that you focus on quality. Make sure that you understand that's one of the 4 major pillars to keep your business in operation. If quality collapses, service will help you once. But if you give out bad food 2 times in a row, you've now created a pattern that people go, whoa, I think I will eat somewhere else. So focus on quality. Come back tomorrow because we're going to be talking about service.